This is a raunchy statement that I am well aware of, but it doesn't make it any less true. Yes, the modern day banking is a form of modern day economic apartheid, right here in North America. Let me tell you something. Number one, we've discussed this before in another piece. Half of Black mortgage applicants were rejected during the pandemic, okay? That's one. Number two, credit card interest rates go as high as 25%. Overdraft fees. Did you know that the banks make more money from those two things from their poor customers? Twice as much from the poor customers as they do the rich ones? An interesting factoid that people aren't really aware of, but it's the absolute truth. And think about this. If you have your credit cards and you try to keep up on the payments and you miss them, and before you know it, it gets sent to collection, you know what happens to the bank? They use that as a write-off against all the income they made from you. They send it out there, and someone else turns 18 every single day, and they start targeting those and thus repeating the whole process all over again. But what is the point of me even saying this? Yes, we know the banks are not necessarily out there to be their business like anything else, and they'll get their suckers in the marks where they can. But what do we do about it to make sure that it stops? Look, make sure we get an understanding of money. Obviously, we report on this all the time. Make sure you keep yourself educated on how interest rates work. What's a high interest rate? What's a low interest rate? For instance, just because somebody offers you a loan and gives you $10,000 of cash now, yeah, it may feel cool and you can go buy yourself some clothes and do this, that, and the other. But what do you have to pay down the line? That's what we really got to start thinking about, understanding that, because there are credit cards that are really great for you. And at the end of the day, if you have good credit, you can really leverage it. But there's a hell of a trap and a tightrope that you got to walk while you figure out how to get to the point where you have good credit, start buying assets, and you start making the credit cards, if you will, work for you, where they can pay for your stuff, pay for your trips, and then you get the intelligent debt, okay? Mortgages, business loans, things where there's a lower cost of the capital and the money that you make from using that capital exceeds the cost of the capital in the first place. And now you're officially in the wealth hacking game where, you know, they look at you like, aha, this is not the sucker that we make all the money from. Let's move them over here because this will be a good customer to make sure that we have the good customers in the foreseeable future because they stay for the long haul. So that's one of the things, and I think it's really time we start having this conversation because, again, who's the one that gets impacted by these things? It is immigrants, people of color, minorities, because there hasn't been that conversation had there. That's just statistically what happens. The lower rung of the socioeconomic hierarchy is happening by people of color. And no one else is really there to bring anybody out of that outside of ourselves. I had to learn it for myself. Everyone around me had to learn it for themselves. And just go out there and do it. So I urge you and encourage you to do the same thing. Before you sign up for a credit card, before you do anything like that, or you just become frivolous with how the fees are taken from you, make sure you stay on top of that budget. And go to your bank and start negotiating with them. Say, hey, if you don't give me a better deal, I'll go somewhere else. What are your thoughts? Banks, good guys, bad guys? Drop them below.